Welcome back. Time for our Impact interview. Stop me if you've heard this before. We have a former All-American linebacker as our guest. That's a pretty long list, but this guy undoubtedly one of the all-time greats to wear the blue and white, 274 tackles for the Nittany Lions, and 186 of them he didn't need any help. They were solo, a school record. He continued into the NFL where he was All-Pro 3 times with the Bills and the Rams. Perhaps most importantly, he was a Tom Bradley recruit. Shane Conlan joins us. Shane, thanks so much for your time. Jay, Tom, and I are really looking forward to talking with you.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. I know we've been trying to put this together for a year now, but I'm glad to be here.
Well, I know we're really excited. Look, I get to fire the first question. So in 1982, you and a number of your fellow classmates redshirted as freshmen after a loss in that title game in the Orange Bowl to finish the 85 season. Many of you could have gone to the NFL, but you stayed and you won it all in 1986. So what drove that collective decision, and how important was that experience and commitment to one another in that 86 year?
Well, I think that we knew going, the 85 year, we were a pretty damn good football team that year, too. I mean, we were had defensively, I thought it was probably one of our better games. And I know Tom can refer to that, but we shut down a really high-powered offense. So I knew that we were going to be in the hunt again next year. So we all just said, hey, let's come back. I know I remember I was talking to Joe, and he said, well, you can leave, but, you might be, but next year you might go, second, third round this year, but next year you'll be a first rounder. So I said, all right, that's all I needed to hear. I wanted to stay anyway. But that was great.
Shane, kind of paralleling a little bit to where Penn State is right now. In 1984, you guys finished with a season with a couple of uncharacteristic losses. In some ways, that parallels where this program is now. So what lessons in leadership would you offer to players coming back next year to try and get Penn State back on top in the Big Ten and nationally where they should be?
Well, right. I think I was a little blown away with how many of the guys just opted out this year to play. And I mean, I understand, especially with that kid getting hurt from, the quarterback from, what was it, Ole Miss?
Yeah, Ole Miss.
So, but I get it. But I don't know, man. We've spent so much time together. I would feel like I'd let the team down if I didn't, we all came in together. We all wanted to live, to graduate and finish this thing together. So I think, there's a couple guys out of our class that didn't get redshirted, and they were so pissed that they didn't get redshirted. Like Mike Zordich, who is a good friend of mine, who didn't play a whole lot his freshman year, but he was so pissed he wasn't there around for that next year. But what are you going to do?
Hey, Shane, in today's world, you would probably have been a no-star recruit, 0 stars, okay? And yet you rank among the best Penn State players of all time. What things in your mental makeup and your drive enabled you to separate from everyone else and become one of the most dominant college football players of your era?
I don't know. I just think I remember when we took the visit with my dad. My dad doesn't say a whole lot about football at all. He just lets me be. So he said, you're going to do all right. And I said, yeah, you think? And because obviously, Tom, you're the only one that offered. I only had one offer, and I'm talking in every division. Not Division II. I didn't even get looked at Division III. So, and then when I got there, I was like, man, I can play with these guys. I remember that first practice when we were doing one-on-ones with the tight ends, and I went against Mike McCluskey, who's a great guy, and, but so I got the better of him as a true freshman. So I think once that stood in, and then, I got hurt I remember Rogers Alexander, he didn't get redshirted, right? So I was like, because we were at the same position. And I was like so pissed that he was playing in front of me. That honestly, he'll say the same thing about that. So, then we found a way to get both of us on the field at the same time. But that's when it first set in. I don't know if you remember, we had fun. That defense, that scout team defense against, Kurt Warner and Blackwood Edge. Yeah, Kurt Warner, he wasn't very happy with some of the stuff we used to do to him. It was a lot of fun.
Hey, Shane, I think you popped everybody's eyes when you ran a 4.5 the very first time out of the gate. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. That's what. I characterize my career as fast and angry. So that's how I've tried to play, you know.
Well, Shane, your recruiting story from Tom's one of my favorite stories of the year. And they gave me this question so I could poke the bear a little bit, all right? So recently, there's been some discussion about number 11 being the number for Penn State linebackers. But others would argue number 31 should be the number for Penn State linebackers, given the national and Big Ten titles won, the 3 All-American national honors by guys who wore number 31, you, Andre Collins, Paul Posluszny. Would it be fair to say that you started a pretty impressive legacy of your own?
Yeah, no, that was great. It was great. I was honored. I remember when Andre Collins, he said he was right after me, right? And he's like, "Hey, you mind if I take your?" I said, "You don't have to ask me. I'm done." I said, "You can take any number you want." He said. And then I started laughing. I said, "I'd be honored if you take it." And he did. And what a career he had too. So I don't know, but what that number 11 for Dallas is doing now is pretty unbelievable.
We are just getting started with our interview. Shane's going to stick around with us, and we're going to step aside for the TV show to take a break. We will continue our interview with Shane Conlan. So if you want to see the entire conversation with one of the best linebackers, right, and you do, Jay, in Penn State history, make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire interview along with other web-exclusive content.
Shane, you and I were the same team for 1 year. And I know that during that year, everyone on the scout team feared you more than anyone else. Harrisburg High's Ray Isom was a close second. But particularly on Tuesday full pad practices, during the run-up to Fiesta Bowl, there was an extra emphasis on tackling Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Vinny Testaverde, not letting him scramble, which meant all of us scout team QBs were live all month in practice. Yeah. So how important was it for that defense to prepare with a game time mentality in every practice for that one?
No, well, they obviously that's the way your dad used to run things. I mean, you look at your father's bowl record; it's insane. Yeah, he doesn't lose bowl games, right? Or record in general. So obviously he knows what he's doing. So and it worked out for us that week. So yeah, it was fun, and I'm sorry, they made me do it. One of those things.
You blame it on me now.
No, let me ask you. I want to ask this one, okay? When you and your teammates were chasing me in particular, did you see glasses and a big nose under that helmet when you laid into me a few times?
Well, I was a little concerned. Yeah, I was like, geez, I don't care. It's you hit a guy, you feel bad, especially the guy that gets hit. Imagine hitting the head coach's son. That can't be cool either. Hey, I bet in the back of his mind he's saying, "Oh, well, it's good for the team, but not for the family." Maybe.
Well, no. The first time I got drilled in practice, and I think it was Isom. I got up, my helmet was askew, and I look over thinking I'd get some sympathy, and Joe was laughing. He was enjoying every second of it.
Yeah, I bet. He's welcome to the big leagues, right?
Hey, Shane, cool. Certainly that Miami game stands out as a game you and your teammates will both be remembered for. However, earlier that year, you played second-ranked Alabama in Tuscaloosa and dominated them 23-3. Can you talk about what you remember about that game and how your coaches got you prepared to play so well in a big game that week?
Of course, the coaching piece is they always put us in the best position to win, obviously, in the best schemes. The one good thing the funniest thing I remember about that game is when I got home, I called my dad because he used to come to all the games, and he said, "Did you miss the bus?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I didn't hear your name called one time." He says, "You really thought?" Because I wasn't in a whole lot of. Because you remember, Tom, I was out on that receiver.
Yeah. Albert Bell was number one.
Yeah, number one, I think he was. But anyway, it was. So I was kind of out of the things. But yeah, that was a great. Who really played his ass off and was crazy was Trey Bauer. That was his probably career moment. This is probably his best game that he had when we played together. So I would say Trey probably should have won the MVP of that game.
Oh, God, help us if he ever sees
I know. That kills me to say it.
He'll be running this back. It'll be on a loop. One of the things I'll always remember about the '86 team was the confidence with which you and everyone on defense carried yourselves. As a coach, I used to evaluate what I would call saves by a defense, meaning how often did a team have a 10-point lead or less in the fourth quarter, and the defense held the lead for the win. You guys faced in 85 and 86 11 times in the fourth quarter with a lead of 10 or less. And never once did there seem a doubt in your minds that you guys would hold the lead. So how were you guys able to establish that kind of mentality going into that 85 season to where it really manifested into really a hallmark of those teams?
Right. Well, first, I think it's coaching. I mean, these guys have been around. I mean, not that Tom, obviously, it was part of that, but I'm not saying it just for him. I'm just saying if that's what they did. We guys, once we got the lead, we kept it. And I just, the defense, the coaching was unbelievable. The athletes that we had, and we had a good complement. And a lot of things that people don't understand is the chemistry of the team. We were all friends. We were good friends. We'd fight together. We'd win together. We'd lose together. And I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, we were all like good friends. We didn't have one person that was selfish, that was thought he was better than the team. And that's how you win games, because you play together. And I think we did that throughout that especially, the 85, we started again, 86, and then obviously 87 manifested in a pretty good year.
Hey, Shane, before I ask my question here, I have to tell everybody that when I did come to see you play basketball, there was only 8 days left in recruiting. It was on a Tuesday night, and the signing date was the following Wednesday. And one of the reasons why I recruited you was when I got to see you play, how impressed I was with you playing basketball. And even though you fouled out, I think, with about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, exactly.
But people may not realize how good you were as a basketball player. Your son is now on Penn State's basketball.
He is, yes.
So I have to ask this one. In your prime and in his prime, who wins a game of one-on-one in the Conlan driveway?
Oh, God, there's no question. I would win. He would outshoot me, but he's working on some. He's a really good shooter, and he needs to put a little weight on, and he's going to be just fine. But I think back in the day, I think I could have taken him. But hey, the thing about that, because you left early. I remember you went through a snowstorm, and I fouled out, and I think I was averaging like 26 or something that year, and I think I had like 3 points or just like 5 points. I was like, oh my God, and then I just blew it. But and because you left early, and then thank God you saw me, and then you gave me the offer. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great for me too. I got to coach.
Well,
I left out there too.
That's why I'm saying you were the only one. I tell the story. Well, sometimes, Ohio State coach. I better not get into that. But anyway, you were the only guy that actually came in live to see me play a sport, any sport. It just happened to be basketball, which I'm grateful for. So that's why I say I owe you.
Hey, Shane, hang on a second. I owe you because I had the privilege of coaching you. But the funniest thing, when I started to like you on tape, which most people don't know, remember your tape was on those little 8mm shot from the top of a school bus, remember? Yep. And you did everything for your team. You punted, passed, ran the ball, played every play of defense and stuff. And I'll never forget, I called Tommy Sharp, your coach, on the phone, and I said, who's recruiting this kid? He said, nobody. Edinburgh just turned him down. But he said, you got to come see him play basketball. And I was like, okay, I'll be up. I really wasn't sure if I'd make it up. There was only, at that time, it was on a Saturday, and he said, well, you better make it Tuesday because that's his last game. So it was just worked out for everybody.
The rest is
I know, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I would have.
Hey, Shane,
I guess I would have had to play baseball then.
You were good at baseball, too.
Yeah, I was okay.
So a couple years ago, they replayed the Miami-Penn State game, and my son and all his friends watched it. And the one thing they came away with, after watching that, they said, oh, my God, everybody in that game would have been ejected for targeting. He said, how did they play that way? How did you guys, for the younger people watching, how did you guys play so physical?
Yeah, that wouldn't be illegal. Like Ray Isom, some of the hits he's had that year, and I don't know. It was just a different game back then. Obviously, they which I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they're probably doing the right thing. But Tom, the way we were taught, kind of lead not with your head, but your face.
Right.
to get a block, and then it was taught different. And, it's probably better that, but you see the athletes now, man, they can't hit these ridiculous calls or targeting. And it's like, come on, man. You know how fast that is live.
Yeah.
And even if you try to do it, you're going to miss, even if you try to tackle the correct way, your helmet's going to get in there sometime. So I don't know. I think it puts the defender in a tough position.
Hey, Shane, Jay mentioned the game was re-aired. Did you watch it when it re-aired, the national championship game?
I did. Yeah, I did watch it. Yes, of course.
And I got 100
calls.
To you, I'm sure.
I got 100 calls of people like, "Hey, you're on." I said, "Yeah, no, I don't." So they play it every once in a while, so it's pretty cool. That was just a magical night, man. That was so awesome. I've never been, seriously, had I won a Super Bowl, which I didn't, lost 3 in a row, but that was by far the coolest thing I've ever been a part of in my life. And that team, the camaraderie, the friendships we've had, I know tons of, and played with tons of NFL players. My friends and a lot of friends are all my teammates of that Penn State year. That's the same guys I hang out with now. And, in the NFL, I probably have 1 or 2. And that's how, because we grew up together. I mean, my God, we're 17, 18 years old. We come in, everybody's homesick at first. And then, then you're sore this first day. You're after practice, everybody's limping around. It's like, oh my God, this sucked. But then, then all this work just pays off. And then you get to know all these guys, man. Unbelievable how much fun I had.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the NFL experience, because last week we talked with A.Q. Shipley and his career playing for Joe and Bruce Arians. You played for Marv Levy. Of course, you mentioned those 3 seasons, but after Penn State. So what were some of the similarities, if there were any, between Marv and Joe Paterno?
They're very similar. Very similar. Although Marv wasn't, I want to say, as volatile. I saw him really raise his voice one time, and it was because a couple guys got late. They got stuck. We were playing the Jets, I remember, and they showed up late to the team meeting. He was pissed. That's the only time I've had. Joe, not so much. He used to get mad if we'd win, but we didn't win the way he wanted us to win. So you could do we would always because we'd be sitting in the front, or God, is this going to go good or what? Or we, or did we play well enough to, because he knows even when we played teams and beat them, but we didn't beat them the way he wanted us to beat them. Kind of, wouldn't you say that, Jay? I mean,
yeah, no question.
Yeah,
he would pick out the 3 or 4 mistakes that could have cost you the game, and then he just
exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, I was one of them. One of those mistakes. You remember that Pitt game, Tom, where I was on the punt team. It was my freshman year, my second year. Well, my redshirt, and I let a punt get blocked because I don't know. I was with Chris Conlan. We were talking.
You guys are pointing. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I know. He was
I coached
he's like, I
special
want
teams
him off
then too.
that.
I remember.
Yeah. Remember, he said, I want that. If it wasn't for Ace, you'd be out of here. Because Ace was the special team, the punt team, special teams coach. So I was like, oh, shit.
Shane, the thing I remember the most, though, is those meetings with you, I, and Donnie when we had our breakdown meetings. There was some fun stuff that went on.
Oh, yeah.
That was really great. Was.
I know. We had some – well, how about that crew? We had some good players in that room. Yeah. Good players.
Well, Shane, that's great stuff. I mean, that's all the questions that we have, but I know these guys could keep going on and on. Does anybody have anything else they want to add? I mean, Shane, anything else you want to tell us?
Shane,
Tom.
Yes.
It's my turn at Nevillewood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. We'll plan it.
You got it, buddy.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Shane Conlan. Wow, what a treat. And, Shane, this is episode 20 of 20. So we're wrapping things up, man. And I think we saved the best for last. We really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Oh, thanks, Todd. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Anytime.